Hello, nerds for Yang.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds. Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds. Hello, nerds.
Hello,
nerds. Oh my God, we got that working. That's a huge victory right there. Guys, welcome to the show and hello, nerds. Scott, what do you got to say to these guys?
Hello, nerds.
I love it. I love it. We're going to add you into a future trailer. Thanks for everybody that's joining. I know I'm super excited to have you on the show because I remember when I was posting videos, way back when in kind of, March or whatever, there wasn't a lot of Yang Gang content on YouTube.
No.
But there was this guy in my home feed who was always with the steering wheel.
Exactly.
And I really enjoyed hearing you. And then also we were on a Discord room, I think for the first debate, which was a little bit, that was kind of anticlimactic, unfortunately. But I'm so glad to have you on the show. I wanted to focus on three things. First, I think it would be cool to get to know you. And so people can know, like, okay, I'm kind of curious, like, who is this guy? Like, where is he driving? And what does he do, like, outside of the Yang Gang? And sort of how did you end up doing this stuff? And then secondly, we have a number of hot topics, like impeachment, debate format, Warren. We'll take some audience questions. I think you have some topics. And then, of course, we'll look at some charts together. And we'll look at the polls. We'll probably look at some data. And then we'll just kind of wrap up and make sure people know how to find you to continue the conversation. How's that sound?
Fantastic.
So who is Scott Garibay?
All right. So let me jump right in. So first, let me tell you about my channel. So my channel, in 2001, there was a movie called Knight's Tale. In that, Paul Bettany played Chaucer. He was a herald for Heath Ledger, who was a knight in that movie. And right now with my channel, I am trying to be the Paul Bettany Chaucer to Yang's knight. Right. So I'm just trying to stand on the sidelines and shout smart, quippy things to get the crowd hyped for the epic action of the candidate, Andrew Yang. That's really what I'm trying to accomplish with my channel. I do one video a day. I am not increasing that frequency, but I'm trying to increase my quality, and I try to create content on a limited time budget. So I think all those are kind of unique to my channel. And then let me give you my story, right? So I'm going to take you all the way from when I'm a non-politically engaged zero-age baby all the way up to my 49-year-old Yang YouTuber self right now. It won't take too long. So I was born in 1970. I was born to two evangelical Christians. My father was an air traffic controller. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. In 1982, and every single one of these is really key to my Yang journey, right, and my YouTube journey. So in 1982, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's really key. It's a huge part of who I am. In 1988, I gave a speech to. I graduated high school, and I gave a speech to all the high schoolers, and I ended that speech to every single one of my classmates for the year saying, vote Republican. and that was to tell them to vote for George H. Bush. So I'm just giving you the full journey here. So I was very politically engaged. And in 1988, I went off to college intending to get a political science degree so that one day I could be president. That was my hope, right? Mm-hmm. So then in 1991, I was married to my evangelical Christian girlfriend, who I've been married to my wife for 28 years now.
Wow. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. We have 4 kids. That's been the best part of my life, I would say. In 1992, I got a degree from Millersville University in political science. In that last year, I actually interned, and I realized I hated politics. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And so I was like, what do I do with this degree? But I finished. I got my degree. And then I then went on to write 2 novels. It turns out I could not be a professional novelist. I'm really good at writing novels and terrible at selling them, but that's okay. That all worked out. In 2005, after I went into information technology, I got a master's in technology management from University of Phoenix. And then in 2001, I saw the movie's Knight's Tale. In 2013, I started doing YouTube videos. And for 5 years, I did videos on Dungeons and Dragons. I did well over 700 videos on Dungeons and Dragons. That's really important because, yeah, exactly. That's really important because I love doing Andrew Yang videos, but I feel that talking about politics publicly is like a tight wire rope act. And I learned to balance on Dungeons and Dragons. And so I would really not feel safe doing this kind of public commentary on politics because it is such an edgy topic if I hadn't learned the ropes, like what video, what to say in a video, what not to say in a video, how to deal with international fans, how to deal with domestic fans, how to be fair to all your fans, and listen, those kind of things. And then this year I went all in on Andrew Yang videos. And the reason why is I'm a true believer, man. I really feel that Andrew Yang is a once in 10 generation, leader who is willing to be a top politician. And I'm a huge fan of Andrew Yang, just massive fan. So that's me.
Yeah. Well, that's a great backstory. And there's so much interesting stuff in there.
Thanks.
And since this is a Nerds for Yang live stream, and I don't mind it going a little long, I would like to ask some follow-up questions on the background before we go into the Yang stuff. So remind me, when you were giving the speech to tell your high school classmates to vote Republican,
Yes.
who was that against Dukakis?
It was George H. Bush in 1988.
Right. And who was he running against?
Oh my goodness, boy, good question. Was it
Dukakis? Or Mondale, one of those?
Or was it what could have been Dukakis in the tank? Yeah, definitely could have been. I'm curious too. You're exactly right.
Now, what year was that? George H.W.
1988. Yeah, so that's a really good question on who the candidate was in 1988. I think it was Dukakis or Mondale. Could have been either one of them. Whoever it was.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Dukakis, yeah. And he was in
Lloyd Benson.
Yeah, and he was the one in the tank, right? Dukakis was the one who had that famous picture with him with
the helmet.
Yeah, it was so funny. And yeah, exactly.
You should never ever do that again. I guess that's a lesson for politicians. Let me see if I can pull up the helmet picture. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Google tried to suggest I look up Dukakis' height. I'm not sure why.
Well, I'm not sure if you shouldn't do that anymore. And the reason why is, and I'm a big believer in this in my life. Actually, some of my greatest successes in life have come from my failures. I feel that failures are huge, rich veins of gold. So you're right. That did hurt him. But nowadays, there's almost no difference between infamy and fame. So nowadays, and like Andrew Yang, doing the crowd surfing and kind of he takes risks. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you're right. Sometimes you look silly, but nowadays you just got to be on camera. That's the big deal.
I was impressed. Yeah, not the crowd surfing was kind of a positive thing, but I would say tweeting out the Halloween costumes was pretty bold.
Huge shit. Did you see the DK Dead Kennedy shirt? I was like, yeah, dude. So cool. Dead Kennedys. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure if he had like a political consultant, that person would probably have said, no. You don't tweet out a picture when you've got, I think he had makeup on when he was a punk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
I don't see Biden tweeting out pictures like that.
But that's the great thing about him. He's so genuine, and you're getting the real deal when you see him. He's amazing. Yeah. Really.
Yeah. I think that's his sort of like secret weapon in some ways, that he really doesn't have to think about like, oh, well, who am I trying to be right now?
Yeah.
You know?
Him. You're absolutely right. And you could see the difference. Like, I think Gillibrand was super smart, very talented lady, but I think it was always in the back of her head, where's my next move? What's the correct play? And people just kind of smelled it, like it was just,
Harris too.
Yeah, I totally agree. You got to be able to shut that off. And I'm not sure many of them can. I actually have a very strong belief. I think politicians as president is dead. And the reason why is here's why. You can't turn off the show. Trump controls the camera. The camera is ubiquitous. And the reality is, I feel like the media will never let someone not entertain them and not entertain the people again. So you're going to have celebrity presidents going forward, or people that are brought from outside of the political arena. I really think that could be the case.
Yeah. So you think the sort of string of future presidents, it won't be an exception that they come from outside the Beltway. It'll just be normal.
And actually, one thing that shocked me was I don't understand why Hollywood didn't show up. You know, I'm amazed that we don't have Leonardo DiCaprio or Oprah or one of those people. And the reality is, believe it or not, I think that's why Andrew Yang has so much momentum. Is he doesn't, you know, we talk about the swamp. He's not a crocodile. Like he's the guy in the river in the riverboat, you know, with the fan, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, and everybody else is a crocodile. They're in the swamp. They've been there a long time, you know. So
yeah, totally. The other thing that you mentioned was that.
Oh wait, you went mute.
I muted myself. Sorry, I got too much going. I'm still trying to get the Dukakis helmet photo. You know, I'm one of those guys. Like now that I got it in my head, like I'm not gonna be.
Let it go. Yeah,
I can't let that go. But I'll work on that in a second. So you mentioned that you're evangelical.
Yes.
And usually one would, and maybe I'm just being sort of obtuse here. I would have assumed many evangelicals tend to gravitate towards the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
And so I'm curious. Obviously, you were supportive of Republicans in the past with George H. When did you? Who is Yang the first Democrat you've supported? Or
I voted for Obama twice.
Yeah.
And so, but you're right. There's a story. I'll tell it to you. So here's the thing. My parents were incredibly hardworking. And neither one of them went to college, but they told me you got to go to college. Right. And, or they just encouraged me. My parents were amazing. They were amazing parents, and they were both evangelical. And they said, hey, you really should go to college. So I did. Right. Well, guess what? The first 60 credits of college is. It's called liberal arts. And that's where I became liberal. I really became liberal in college, right? And I voted for George H. Bush. I never voted for Clinton. I voted Republican against him, and then I voted for George W. Bush twice. When President Obama came up, in my heart, I kind of weep for what happened with this, with the 1619 problem. One of the reasons why we had the Civil War. And I really, in my heart, want to believe that I would have been an abolitionist, right? Or somebody who was on the, running with, So with that, right, when President Obama came, I was like, there's no way I'm going to pass up the opportunity to put in our first African-American president. So I voted for him twice. The first time when he won, I went to the Wawa. We have it's like a 7-Eleven, right? It's really nice. And there was an African-American man. I remember it to this day. The day after he was elected, I was getting like a candy bar at the Wawa. And this African-American man saw the paper and walked forward. And I just remember it to this day. And he stopped, and he couldn't even approach the paper that said President Obama was president, because he was looking at it with awe. And that was my first time really voting for a Democrat. And I was extremely happy with Obama as our first African-American president. I think it was a hinge in American history. And I'm really proud to be part of that. And then I couldn't vote for, and then the reason why I couldn't vote for Trump, I've been married 28 years, right? And I made a sacred oath to my wife. Well, Donald Trump's been married 3 times, so I can't really respect somebody who doesn't take, if he's not going to keep his promise to the person he loves the most, what on earth chance do I have that he's going to keep his promise to me? So and then when I saw Andrew Yang, it was the same thing. When I saw Andrew Yang, I heard all the UBI, blah, 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 right? What caught me was somebody said, what's the most fun you've had on the campaign trail? And he said, oh, well, the reality is I really miss my wife and kids. And I was like the second I heard that, I'm a Christian husband and a father, right? It locked in. I was like, holy cows, this guy is a dedicated husband and a dedicated father. That was it. Because the reality is I just don't believe for a second that Trump is either a dedicated husband or a dedicated father. And so that once I heard that, I was like, that's all the way with Yang. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if Trump often talks about, missing Melania and Barron and spending more time with the family. I don't think that's his mode of operation.
Well, I don't think he even can. When he uses the word family, what does that mean? Like, that's a really complicated question. There's like 3 sets. So and honestly, I have a lot of respect, and I really am very careful about this because I never want to be dismissive because people have different experiences. But for me, when I choose my leader, I'm gonna rely on the things that are important to me, and that's important to me. I don't ask anybody else to vote on that fact. I'll bring people to Yang on other facts, but that was huge to me. I was like, he is a dedicated Christian. He's not. I don't think he's a Christian. He's a dedicated husband and a father. And that's huge. Like that's virtually my whole life, And so I'm like, and that really it resonated.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think Andrew is secular. I think his wife is Christian, and they go to church on Sundays. I think he joins them, but I don't think he is formally in a religion.
Now, believe it or not, that's incredibly uncommon in evangelical Christian churches. Just so you're aware, almost all churches that are actually moving forward and doing well today, they have a lot more women in the seats than men. It's really common. Actually.
Yeah. Now, technically, Trump is a Christian.
I don't think so. I know Trump isn't a Christian. Here's my take on that. Right. The way I know Trump isn't a Christian is they asked him. They said, "Trump, are you a Christian?" And he said the following. He said, "Of course I'm a Christian. I go to church." Any evangelical will tell you that is not how you get to church. That is not how you get to. That's not how you're saved. You're saved by the blood of Jesus Christ. You accept salvation. You request salvation, and then you are saved. You get the righteousness of Christ put upon you. If any kind of evangelical gives an answer that I go to church, that's actually a very Catholic answer in my opinion.
A Catholic answer. I love it.
My mom's
hardcore. No. My mom's hardcore Roman Catholic, and they are big on the rules and sort of showing up at church at the right time and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And perhaps less so on actually living the principles. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But okay, now I finally found the Dukakis picture. I gotta share, otherwise I won't be able to focus.
So excited. Yeah.
There it is. It's not that bad.
Gosh. But see, I don't think that looks that bad.
Not
that
bad.
Hardware on the left, that is dope. Am I right?
Pretty badass.
It looks awesome. I don't know why anybody was laughing back then. I think that would totally play today. Am I right?
I think so. I think it's pretty badass. I wonder if this was like the best one. Let me see if there's it. Yeah. Maybe the close up isn't as favorable.
But even that, it's got the hardware right in it, man.
That's
well, I think the reality is I've been listening to a lot of people and they're saying, historical references, people are like, "Oh, this is like Watergate." And people are like, "No, man, this like our world is so dramatically different now that historical references are really starting to break down."
Yeah,
I think that's true. Because that Dukakis photo that would play like crazy today. That'd be all over Twitter for 3 days. Yeah,
it's almost badass.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's totally hardcore. It looks epic. We should Photoshop Yang in there.
I seriously be like, look, we can even do the tank photo.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah,
that's it says a lot about. Oh, by the way, Scott, you are a little bit off center of camera. If you could,
better.
There, perfect. It says a lot about politics today because I guess back then, if you just sort of like literally had the helmet on slightly, off center, or if the color wasn't right, your campaign is over.
Yep.
Now.
No.
Shoot, man. Like you look at, we'll get to the impeachment stuff shortly. But it seems like presidents can do a lot of things that are even worse than this travesty here.
Oh, yeah.
Or, the other one, what was that? The other one that Obama got in trouble for, the tan suit. Remember this one when it was like a huge controversy?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the bike helmet, even the bike helmet.
The bike helmet, that's right.
Yeah.
And then John Kerry when he was windsurfing. Yeah. So
it's amazing. Like, and the thing is, right now, like, and again, I think there's two presidents that are responsible for this. I really feel like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, they detached character from the presidency, and once you do that, like, anything goes. I mean, the stuff Trump has played drums with scandal. He's like, it's like, yeah, and nobody, so.
All right, someone in the chat, Hugh Lester is saying that we are not considering the full story with Dukakis and the tank helmet. And his argument is that it wasn't the picture, it was the video where he looked uncomfortable. So we're gonna have to go look for that. Like, give me a second.
Yeah.
Let me find it, Dukakis. This is too interesting. Shit. Let's see. The tank ad. Oh, we can even watch the ad. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get this sharing working again.
Yeah. And I think, and also it is, now that I think about it, right, that looks like a Republican shot, right? That looks like a Republican picture, because so if you're a Democrat, like, think about Tulsi Gabbard, right? She's all about non-interventionism, and here he is sitting in a tank. Maybe that was part of it, Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Here we go. You want to watch it?
Let's see it.
Let's enjoy this one.
Michael Dukakis has opposed virtually every defense system we developed. He opposed new aircraft carriers. He opposed anti-satellite weapons. He opposed 4 missile systems, including the Pershing II missile deployment. Dukakis opposed the stealth bomber and a ground emergency warning system against nuclear attack. He even criticized our rescue mission to Grenada and our strike on Libya. And now he wants to be our commander-in-chief.
Ooh.
Can't afford that risk.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can see why that didn't work so well for Dukakis.
Yeah. Totally get it.
I'd like
totally
to once.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, it's a great point. And the other thing is, it is a huge issue on the left on how the left deals with the military. And honestly, you're right. You said it before. I'm an evangelical Christian voting on the Democrat side. I'm fully registered as a Democrat. I had to switch my registration about 2 months ago. And so, I've had some back and forth with, because I had switched for Obama, then I would switch back. And it's really fascinating because I think with the military, the Dems have a really tough time with it because everybody's like pro troops, but non-interventionism is really strong with the Democrats. It is non-existent with the Republicans. Republicans are like, let's roll hard against every country in the world. Oh yeah.
You think still?
Oh, big time. Are you kidding? You 1 in 100 Republicans are non-interventionalists. I think. Yeah. Absolutely.
So do you think Republicans would be supportive of getting involved in, like, let's say Iran and Syria, like boots on the ground?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the reason why is basically, we do have this military, and America, I really feel America is incredibly expansionist. And the biggest thing is, it's one of the reasons I'm super pro Mars, right? And the reality is we are crazy expansionist, right? And the problem is we need to go to a point where we're not expanding on physical ground and we're not displacing people, right? But I'll tell you right now, America, like, we own more aircraft. We own an equal amount of aircraft carriers than every nation in the world.
Yeah.
Our military, and it's like a Corvette, and for Republicans, they're like, I ain't letting that Corvette sit in the garage. Let's get that thing on the track, right? So I don't think they care where. They're like, let's do it. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for taking the vet on the track, but you don't have to like floor it on the wrong side of the highway going into like, tractor trailers and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I think you can be pro-military and pro-American strength without saying that we have to go into every country and try and bring them democracy when they don't want us there and they don't want our way of government. And frankly, but we have our own problems, don't we?
You're saying what's right? And I will say, this is a big part of my channel, right? I don't really talk a lot on my channel about what's right. And the reason why is there's a ton of people on YouTube already talking about it, right? I talk about what's feasible. I'm really focused on what's going to win. And so let's talk about Tulsi, right? Tulsi, I actually think she is by far the most skilled candidate in this election. Her platform of non-interventionism is 100% non-electable. She is the best candidate with the absolute worst platform. And so I feel really strongly about this. And the Dems, I think it's one of their biggest things is they're singing 2 songs when it comes to the military. They're like pro-troop, let's not use them for anything. And and I'm not even saying what's right. I'm saying if you want to win, you have to recognize this problem and find an angle. And that's why I love Andrew Yang is he will find the right angle. He'll he's like non-Euclidean, man. He's like, let's do some arcane wizardry here. Let's find the right angle on this. And on this one, it's not about what's right. It's what about what's feasible and what can be sold. And I definitely understand Andrew's like, hey, let's be open, let's be honest. But you look at Tulsi, man, she is a force of nature. She should be winning this thing fully, right? Just look at the facts of who she is as a political profile. Tulsi's amazing. Her platform is the worst because you won't even get a 1 in 100 Republicans on that platform.
And she's having trouble getting 1 out of 100 Democrats even.
Right.
Why do you think she's struggling so much? Because I kind of agree with you. She comes across really strong and centered and solid and smart. And I love the fact that she's a vet, she's an active in the military and she served and in a way that makes her non-interventionist views so much more authentic to me.
Yeah, it's totally authentic. The problem. And I honestly think the Dems, Yang all the way, right? I'm totally down with Yang. But I swear, if there had been a stately female Democrat, veteran veteran from the House or the Senate that sat her down and said, listen, you are a rigid framework and we can hang victory on you, but you've got to abandon this non-interventionism because she believes it to her heart. And honestly, I'll tell you, and the thing is, ain't nobody care about it. Non-interventionism is a flat loser platform. You cannot win on it. There's
even after Afghanistan and Iraq.
Well, see, the big thing to it. Yeah, go ahead.
You don't, because I feel like we spent a lot of resources and lost a lot of lives, and it's not clear, like, if we made it better for ourselves. Certainly not for the region. Why would we? It's
super clear to me. A lot of people are like, "What are we paying all this money for the government for the military for?" It's crazy clear to me. Okay, here it is. I'll drop it down. No boots on the ground in 240 years. We are rock solid safe. No one even threatens us theoretically, right? There's really no question about what country could defeat America because of our military. The question is if the world could defeat America, and the answer is probably no, right? And so that's the issue is with Iran and Iraq, you're right. It should have been a lot better than it was. We should have had better intel and we should have executed. But I think, and again, I'm saying this is what happened. This isn't what's right. Basically, in 2011, 3,000 Americans died. And I think what happened was the Republicans were like, somebody's going to pay. We're going to turn some country into glass. And I don't think they really cared which. And that's the issue. And the reality is with America, you even flinch at America. America will turn your country to glass. And we're getting every dime we're paying for out of this military. And again, all this sounds really super strange, right? Because I'm totally down with Yang, but I am a stranger in a strange land. Robert Heinlein, I understand me saying this is odd, but this is why Yang is going to win. Coalition, baby. This is why he can win. He is the only person that can steal votes from Trump.
Right. So let me ask you this. When you were hanging out with your fellow evangelicals,
indeed,
how many are wearing math hats? Like, how's that coming along?
I'll give you reports from the front lines this morning. So I was in church this morning and I wore this shirt to church, right? And there's one gentleman who's actually, I think he's from Nigeria, who's in my church, and he came up and he said, Scott, I'm so excited to see your shirt. And he knew exactly who Yang was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was really exciting. And we had a great conversation. And his 7-year-old daughter had introduced him to Yang, and he had watched Yang videos and was super down with it. Now, where's the rest of it, right? Where's everybody else? And then I talked to a lady, and she's like, who's that on your shirt? I said, this is Andrew Yang. And I gave her the speech, and she goes, that dude ain't going nowhere. Nobody's going to pay, nobody's going to believe you're going to get $1,000 a month. And I'm like, he's a long shot, right? But the reality is, what you need to understand is you need to understand the candidate, right? So just Google him and, check out some videos online. And I was saying it in a winsome way. The reality is the evangelicals, one, I think the reason it's not Yang that's going to get them excited. It's that they truly are frustrated with what they've lost from Trump. Trump has delivered fantastic jobs. Trump has delivered a stock market that's going through the roof. But what evangelicals care about that is upsetting to them is that dislocation of character from the presidency. They genuinely care about the presidency. And the presidency, and frankly, a lot of people really believe that respect for the presidency was massively damaged by Bill Clinton. And for a while, the Republicans were like, oh, those Democrats, how could they let the respect for our presidency happen like that? And now they co-signed it with Donald Trump. And a lot of evangelicals are like, oh, man, this guy owned casinos. He's got 3 families, and they're like, is he one of us? And more every day, it's harder for them. And they're like, is there anybody who is like us? And frankly, I really feel Andrew Yang, this sounds strange. He's got to leave it to Beaver life. Like, he's got 2 kids, a wife, and like, he's got exactly what every evangelical is trying to set up. And it's genuine.
Yeah. How did they feel? How did your evangelical friends feel about Obama? Because he was a pretty good husband and father, as far as I could tell.
Absolutely. So it all goes back to the Civil War, the 1619 issue, right? And it sounds like so evangelicals are human beings, right? They should be more loving. But I will admit it. When you come to evangelicals, it's a roll of the dice on whether you're getting a person who's truly loving and really has left prejudice behind, and they're really reading what's in the Word, and living that out. And a lot of them, it can be there. I think a lot of prejudice comes from fear and loss. People become prejudiced when they're like, I lost something to that person, and it could be anything, right? So if there's an evangelical and they lost something to a person who's not their same heritage, they can be prejudiced, right? And there really are. There's prejudice among evangelical Christians. The one thing is, when we're in church, we're supposed to love one another, and we're supposed to call each other to accountability. And I try to do that. I try to call my brothers and sisters into Christ to accountability and say, you need to be loving to all people, whether they share our heritage or not. So it's tough. And I voted for Obama, but you're absolutely right. Like, I lost friends and family, deep relationships for that choice. And it was hard. Yeah. Do
you think the same people who may have been uncomfortable voting for Obama because of his heritage, I would imagine they're not going to be comfortable voting for Andrew Yang either for the similar reason, right?
No, not at all. Actually, it's really strange. And you could correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I want to speak about things I know. And I think I know a little bit about this, but the reality is, I don't think anyone in America has the same relationship with Asian people as America has with African American people. And the reason why is we don't have the same history. You see what I'm saying? It's hugely different. Different. And we have a very different outlook on Asian people. And one thing I think is evangelicals will see with Andrew Yang is the hustle. And evangelical Christians work incredibly hard to support their family. And if you look at Andrew Yang, you could see a dude working incredibly hard to drive toward a goal. And it looks like provision too. That's the other thing that evangelicals will really like. They like education generally. And he crushed it in education, double Ivy. Yep. They love people who work for corporations. He crushed it in the corporation, Manhattan Press. And then they really like charity too, benevolence, right? So they're like, hey, this dude crushed it in education, crushed it in corporation, crushed it in benevolence. They could see the things they're looking for in Andrew Yang. And the reality is, I don't think Andrew Yang looks like Obama at all to evangelicals. And the biggest thing is, and the other thing is, I don't think you're going to get evangelicals on anybody other than Yang. I really don't. Like, he's the only real coalition builder. because he's not a crocodile. Everybody's like, oh, look at that scaly skin. You're a politician. I can see it. They're all politicians. The only one who's not right now is Tom Steyer. Come on, he's a billionaire. He's a complete non-contender.
Right.
But Yang's real, and Yang's been building real momentum.
What do you think evangelicals would how would they interpret Warren?
Oh, boy. Here's the issue. Okay. The issue with Warren has absolutely nothing to do with evangelicals. I think Warren is a logic puzzle. That's all she is anymore. She's just a logic puzzle. If you look at Warren, this is what Warren is. She is a super, and this is how evangelicals will see her. She's a super hardworking, civic-minded, super intelligent, coastal elite who has mini scandals, exactly like Hillary.
Hillary.
Political profile. When you look at the political profile of Warren, all you see is Hillary. There's nothing else there. And I feel terrible for Warren because I think she has a point in time issue. I think she could have beat George W. Bush, and that's when she should have run. But running Warren after Trump battered around Hillary in 2016 is a huge statement from the Democrat Party saying we want to be able to talk for the next 14 months and say everything we like and then deadlock lose to Trump.
Yeah. I worry. I mean, but the reality is that right now she is probably the strongest contender, right?
Have you seen the momentum she's had lately? Within the last 2 weeks, Biden and Sanders have dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
Warren is skyrocketing. Yeah. And the reality, it's a huge problem. It is a huge problem because the reality is it really looks like she's moving into position, right? Andrew's got to catch. She's Andrew Yang's real contender now, right?
I agree.
I agree. Warren is the real threat, right? Biden and Sanders, I know Sanders' numbers. I don't think he ever had a chance. That socialist sticker is never coming off his forehead, and you cannot get Republican voters with that sticker on your forehead. You can't, right? So, yeah. But with Warren, honestly, I feel really bad. She's incredibly talented. She's very earnest. Her plans are mesmerizing. She is a great politician. Problem, she is an absolute echo from the political profile perspective of Hillary, and no one will see anything but Hillary when they look at her political profile. She is a deadlock loss, and I think the Democrats realize it. The other issue is, have you been reading this where like big Democrat donors are like, no, we'll sit it out. There's no way we're giving her money because she's rolled up hard on the wealthy.
Yeah.
And I'm really worried. I had not, because I was like, Andrew Yang is going to take Biden. Andrew Yang is going to beat Sanders. And I'm like, holy cows. Did the Democrats learn nothing? We're looking at 2016 again. Have we learned nothing? It is very worrisome.
I agree. I think the sad thing is the primary voters may take a different tack than the Democratic donors. And this is one time where I kind of agree with the donor class that, hey, they got to back someone that they think can win in the general. Yeah. And she's got a lot of energy. I mean, there's like 20,000 people showing up at her rallies and she does the selfies and whatever. Yeah.
And that's another one, that's one of the reasons why I like Andrew Yang so hard is he works so hard, right? And we're doing that too. She's sticking around and she's really, she is really working hard. And the reality is I'm just like, you're the right person. You're 20 years too late. It is not the time right now. And one of the things that we have too is there is a huge problem of leadership in the DNC. I think the DNC is confused because they really did Bernie wrong in 2016. That's super clear. And now they're just kind of shocked and they don't know how to handle. They don't know how to say, Warren, listen, you're a fantastic primary candidate. You are a terrible general, candidate. And they also can't recognize that Andrew Yang is a much better general election candidate than he is a primary candidate.
I totally agree, which takes us to the topic of the upcoming debate.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And so you've got 12 people on stage. I I don't think it worked really well when they had 10 actually on stage. So I'm a little worried that it's going to be a lot of people talking over each other and maybe like 5-10 minutes for each person, maybe 15 for the sort of top tier candidates. And we won't really learn anything. Like we won't peel the onion on Biden much further. We won't be able to kind of highlight or surface some of the general election issues that might face Warren. And I worry that like the polls won't really change much after this next debate unless somebody really screws up, which is possible. You know.
Totally disagree. Totally.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so here's what's happening. One, I think these debates are amazing for Yang. And so one of the things is like he defeated. So one, anybody who's out, like Marianne Williamson, she's gone. Right, she's gone. She's still in. But any candidate who is not making these debates, you can forget them. They're not going anywhere. Right. Tulsi fought her way back. That's interesting. I'm actually excited to see Tulsi again. I love her as a person and as a politician. I really dislike I just think non-intervention. I don't even care about non-intervention. I just realize it's totally unelectable. So here's the issue, right? So one of the issues I'm using a new term. I'm going to say it. I feel Warren, Biden, Sanders are the great white nope. So yeah, and that's the issue. I voted for Obama twice, right? And the reason why was I'm like, I'm not putting in a 45th Caucasian person. I'm not. And again, anybody who wants to vote for a person, for a 45th Caucasian person to be president, they have every right to do that. I'm not doing it, right? And I think every time you put those suckers on stage, Warren, the great white nope, Warren, Biden, Sanders in the center of the stage, right? Saying, oh, maybe the dedication to intersectionality for the entire Democrat Party was just a ruse, right? It looks terrible for them, right? Better work done. He is not going anywhere, right? And the reality, and I actually think the only real contenders for Yang are Castro, Booker, and Harris has dropped like a comet recently. I don't know why. I think it was her early attack. I think it killed her. Her early attack on Biden looked so bad in retrospect. I think it was a real problem. But so basically, here's the kicker, right? You put Yang on that stage, I think it's gold for him every time he's there because he says the least, means the most, and gets the most. And that's what I love about Yang. He is doing the most with the least. And every time he's on that stage, he doesn't sound like anybody else. Last on the debate number 3, Buttigieg had to wait for his applause to die down. That was in debate 3. I think Andrew Yang is going to be an absolute wrecker in debate 4. I think every single time he gets better. He's so smart. He's so capable. He's such a fighter. I think he's going to wreck fools in debate 4. I think it's going to be gold for him.
And you would prefer he be one of 12 than one of 6?
Oh, the issue of too many people in there. Yeah. That's a big question. So let me explain. I think we have a problem, and this is one of the things I'm trying to do on my channel. If you go to my channel, you'll hear me talk about politics and Yang and BMX, Yang and the Avengers, Yang and the issue is when you bring muggles, when you bring normal people to these debates, they don't know what they're seeing, right? Because one of the things, this is one reason why I love Yang, half the things that come out of these Democrats' mouths, these politicians' mouths, don't matter, right? So the issue is it too many people? Is it not? The biggest issue is we are trying to explain to the American people why politics doesn't stink, right? And these debates, it's football for me, right? Every second I'm like this. Like I'm so excited.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But then I listen to other commentators, even other commentators, and they're like, this is so boring. And I didn't like how he didn't perform. And I see what Yang's doing. Yang has this path of peace mode that he's in. And he's just like, and the other thing is, I'm convinced Yang doesn't need to beat anybody. He just has to remain standing. And all these politicians will knock themselves over. I truly believe that. Warren is the only thing that might be a problem. Warren is a true problem. Her recent momentum is very fast, very powerful, very confusing why it's happening, that people don't understand that she is, from a political profile perspective, she's a complete echo of Hillary, and it's a complete loss. It's just there's no way she can win. So yeah.
Let me give you my dream scenario, because I actually think we agree on a lot of things. I mean, I agree that the more you hear from Yang, the clearer it is that he's outclassing a lot of these other candidates on the debate stage. My dream scenario, though, is that he gets more time and people get to hear more from him. I agree with you that he doesn't need to say a lot to have a lot of impact. But imagine if it were one where they split it into two, and he was with Warren on the. So now it's Warren, him, and whatever, 4 other people, and they have an opportunity to kind of really show how different they are. So now you've got Yang from having maybe 6 or 7 minutes to having 12 or 14 minutes.
Yep.
It would be unprecedented Yang airtime in a debate.
Yeah.
And, they trade views on Medicare for all or foreign policy or something. I think that could be a breakthrough moment for Andrew. And I worry that one of 12, like he might only get 5 minutes.
But the reality is it doesn't matter, because the thing is, he doesn't need more than that, because you're giving this time to these other politicians. They don't use it. Like in Harris, in her opening statement, she said Trump's bad. You're a Democrat and you think Trump's bad. Blah blah blah. Who cares, right? Like they don't use their time for anything but repetition. The other thing is, here's the thing: the debates are the point at the beginning of the line, right? You hit the debate. And then what happens is tens of thousands of media hours, and those media hours are going to be filled with Yang, right? And Yang continues to go forward from the debates, and I think will be pulled out from the debates because he's the only thing that's interesting. All the rest of them are politicians. They smell like politicians. They have the same shape as politicians. And Yang, he radiates difference. And the other thing is, he's so smart and so capable that I think he will surprise us again. He gets better in every iteration, and he's going to get more press. And the other thing is the boom moment. Is there going to be a boom moment? There's always a possibility for a boom moment, and he can have a boom moment, and we have a distinct possibility for it. I think these debates are gold for Andrew. And every time he's in there, I think he gains ground. And I think and all these other, and like Sanders and Biden and Warren, all they're doing is defending themselves from their own past.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you would prefer one of 12, or would you want to split?
Oh, definitely one night. People aren't turning in for 2 nights.
Okay.
No.
Okay. We'll have to agree to disagree on that one, Scott. But I think.
Let me ask you this: would you take 2 nights if he got put into the junk night? And that's what would happen.
I would take 2 nights, because I think the more people hear from him, the more clips that can be produced from it, the more opportunity for him to have a big moment. I think it's all upside, because I believe so much in his capabilities.
Yeah.
And you know what? The worst case scenario is if he goes on night 2 and he doesn't get time with Biden or Warren. But even then, if he can kind of like clearly outclass Harris and Buttigieg, that's still a win. Yeah. I mean, the worst luck for us would be if it were Biden, Warren, Sanders, Buttigieg all in night 1.
Yeah.
And then, and then Yang and the rest in night 2. But I don't think they would do it that way.
Well, the other thing I'm really curious of is are people going to start attacking him? They're ignoring him now, right? But if somebody starts attacking, and I think you could see some attacks coming his way. And I think he's in full judo mode. Like, he is really non-attacky. And I think he's going to flip some people. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see the attacks.
Oh, I would love it if they attack him.
Yeah.
I would love it if they attack him. That would be so fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to topic 2, which is impeachment.
Let's do it, man. I'm excited.
Are you pro? What's your position? Do you think there's a pro, against, neutral? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, I think the Democrats should not try to impeach Trump. And the reason why is I'm not even going to answer the is it right or not right to do it. And the reason why is it's ridiculous from a tactics and strategy perspective. From a tactics and strategy perspective, it is catastrophically bad for the Democrats. Just a super tiny thing, but it's personal. I'll say it. My wife went to watch Andrew Yang on The View the other day, right? And she's like, "Where's Yang?" And instead, they had just the DNI, the director of national intelligence, getting grilled by Democrats and Republicans, and Yang was gone. He was displaced from television, and they were just talking about and so here's the impeachment issue. The Democrats don't have a chance in heck of impeaching Donald Trump. And Andrew Yang has already talked about this. Every time we talk about Donald Trump, Trump wins. And this is going to be Trump all the time. The other thing that's murky is I'm not saying for a second that Biden was guilty of anything or that Hunter was guilty of anything, but it looks like a mess. I was just reading, and the whole question is, why was Hunter dealing with these Ukraine gas companies? Even if the answer is good, none of it looks good, and so the Democrats have been really dismissive. They're like, it's really important. And the Democrats, the impeachment is so bad for them. It's terrible. I'll just knock them off, right? One, did anybody see Trumbo? The Democrats have a 50-year history of saying, if you think that that Russians are bad people, you're laughable. How are Democrats going to roll out and go, oh, Ukraine and Russians are villains? They can't do that. Like, McCarthyism is their history, right? Like fighting against McCarthyism. So that doesn't work for him. The other issue is, and this gets really crazy, but this impeachment thing, Trump is slippery as an eel. There's no way he's going anywhere. This is going to be the same echoed nonsense. There's absolutely no ability to impeach Trump on this. And here's the other thing is, even if he's guilty, they can't catch him. And here's why. The Democrats, and please correct me if I'm wrong, have another 30-year history of law shenanigans, right? The Democrats on 420, the Democrats are very pro 420, far more than Republicans, right? And they're like, oh, laws against 420, shenanigans, whatever, laws don't matter. So they have this super long history of like being like shenanigans, laws aren't important, and if you don't like that law, you can ignore it and we'll decriminalize it. That's a huge problem. And then the other thing is, I'm a huge fan of Slate Media, and one of the most brilliant dudes on there. They're all brilliant. Emily Bazelon, David Plotz, and John Dick. They're the best in political commentary, in my opinion. And David Plotz is like, we got a problem, right? Like, if you're going to impeach somebody, right? When this happened when they tried to impeach, when they went to impeach Nixon, right? The press was like, hey, we worked really hard to bring you an objective presentation of this, right? There's no objective. Nobody even remembers what objective media is now. It's all super partisan. So all you're going to do is you're going to trot out all your evidence, and every Republican on the planet is going to ignore it. And then Trump's Republican-controlled House is going to slow walk every piece of evidence you need. It is hopeless, and Trump will turn it into gold. Impeachment is impossible, and it's foolish for the Democrats to even try.
I kind of agree with you, and I want to agree with you wholeheartedly. I find it difficult as a person who believes in right and wrong to read this transcript of the President of the United States withholding $300 million of military aid to a country that needs it to defend itself against let's at least call Russia a rival.
Yep.
Have the head of that state say, hey, we're ready to get the javelins because the Russian tanks are, we need defenses against them. And then for our president to say, well, yeah, I have a favor to ask of you, though. I want you to look into this Biden thing.
But wait,
to me, like, that just seems like not something that just seems like our president has put his political interests ahead of the country's interests.
You're 100% right, but the Democrats co-signed it. Here's when they did it. They did it in 1998 with President Clinton. And this is the part the Republicans and the evangelicals will not forget. You're absolutely right. It looks like quid pro quo. and we should have right and wrong in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats have a strong history. It started with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton did something that they tried to impeach him on, and everybody's like, this is outrageous behavior for a president. And the Democrats said, listen, character don't matter. You don't have to have these evangelical ideas of Puritanism and right and wrong and law. Yeah, there was something really bad that happened here. But that, as long as good people don't have to you don't have to be a good person as long as you're doing good things. The Democrats co-signed exactly what's happening with Trump with Clinton. And that's what Republicans and evangelicals, not most, not me, right, are hanging their hat on, right? They're saying, yeah, we're wrong here, but the Democrats started with Clinton. And the reality is I see Bill Clinton and Trump, they're the same. They are a disconnection. So the Democrats did it first, right? And I'll tell you right now, the Republicans really, they danced a jig and we're like, oh my gosh, the Democrats have said there's no more character with presidency. And then the Republicans co-signed it with Trump. They're like, we're going to completely disconnect character, nobility, right and wrong from the presidency with this winner. And, and the reality, and that's the issue.
Let me ask you this, Scott. Is there anything that Trump could do that you think would rise to the occasion of an impeachment proceeding?
He said it himself. He said he could shoot. Everybody thinks it's a joke. He said, I could shoot somebody in the street and I'd still get elected. And the reality is and this is why I'm so for Yang. When he said, I miss my wife and my kids, I'm like, we desperately need to fix the role of presidency. And here's the issue with Trump. And Democrats are not dealing with this issue. Trump has delivered. Everybody's working. Everybody's got an extra car, at the macro level, more people, everybody's working. A lot of people got extra cars or nicer cars in the lot. The stock market is through the roof, and they will ignore a lot for that. It is nuts for the Democrats to spend one breath, one piece of attention, one more moment on this impeachment stuff. Trump ain't going nowhere, and this will be a massive distraction for their candidates. And I can't believe I'm so frustrated with the Democrats, just like how little logic they have. It's so clear to me. It's so clear, right? Like this impeachment thing is a no-go. It ain't going to go nowhere, right? Like you're not going to even the documents themselves. It's a Republican-controlled House. He's shown he can slow walk anything you need to do. Like he's slippery as an eel, and this is no different. And the other thing that the Democrats I don't think we're really understanding is Biden's right in the middle of this. Right. And he's the number one Democrat candidate. As you pull this rock back, I will be real surprised if Biden and his son look great after that rock gets pulled back. Am I wrong there?
Let me take a different tack on this one. I 100% agree that politically this impeachment thing is a loser for the Democratic Party and it's sucking a lot of oxygen.
Yep.
I also think that as an American citizen who cares about the integrity of the executive branch, if you zoom out and we end up in a world where we say, you know what, the president can do whatever he or she wants as long as his party controls the Senate, because we'll never get that party to give us the 60 plus votes. And they can do whatever they want. They have a 4-year free pass to do anything. I don't know. I just feel like in some ways, the impeachment proceedings today, if nothing else, I doubt they will they'll pass the Senate, but at least they put the Trump administration on notice that, look, we're going to start increasing the scrutiny and you can't just run roughshod over the Constitution because we're watching. And I don't know, it just every time I read new things that Trump does or says, or all these people resigning or getting fired, I just feel like that White House is freaking a clear and present danger to the country. And I don't know, maybe you're right that impeachment isn't the right thing to rein him in.
Yeah.
But, we have 3 branches of government for a reason, and he's not the king.
Absolutely.
You know,
Well, again, you're talking about what should be. I'm only talking about what's feasible, right? I did not vote for Trump, and I didn't vote for him the first time, and I certainly would never vote for him coming up. You know, my vote's going to Yang. And the reality is, you're still talking about what's right and what should be. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. If we're going to win, those are luxuries, right? Those are luxuries. It's all, and the reality is, this hope that Democrats have, Trump will use it as a tool. And I think that's exactly what impeachment will be. And I agree that he should be held accountable, but the Democrats don't appear to have any ability to hold him accountable. And that's tough. That's really tough. I agree with you. We desperately need to restore character to the presidency. We need somebody who will do things that are right and noble, right? And I will say also, I'm an evangelical Christian, right? So in my life, I have to treat people with respect and kindness and love, right? I will say this. I have a political science degree, and I watch politics the way most people watch sports. And I really don't deal much at all with right and wrong. I'm really focused on, are we going to win this? How do we get there? Right. And the reality is, I really feel like what should be and what is right are luxuries at this point. We got 14 months to get this won. And every word that comes out of my mouth is like, how do we get there? Because the reality is, there's little time. We will have time for philosophy and conjecture after the election. Right now, we got to remain on target. And I'll tell you right now, impeachment is a massive distraction.
Yeah, I think you've convinced me that the going forward with the impeachment is not a good move for the Democratic Party, and it's not great for Yang because it's taking all the oxygen out of the room. We also have to play the cards we've been dealt. Like, Yang didn't choose to proceed; he wasn't supportive of it. This is something that Pelosi did.
Absolutely.
And
wait. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and was pressured by a lot of Democrats in the Congress to do this. So she's not going to change her mind. We're rolling forward with this. So I guess maybe if we want to be more constructive, then what's the best Yang strategy in a impeachment world where, like, every day we're going to be talking about, oh, we need these documents, we need to subpoena these people.
Yeah.
What do you think is the pragmatic thing for Yang to do?
Okay. So first, I'm going to answer that question, but first I got to talk about Pelosi. I loved how Pelosi came around to impeachment. She was like 30. She was taking a meat thermometer and sticking it in the impeachment turkey. She was like 30 Democrat House people for impeachment. No. 64 House impeachment. You had 60 Democrats in the House for impeachment. 170 Democrats for ding, impeachment's ready. Like, that's literally how she did it. I was like, what? That's how you cook a turkey. It's not how you decide when it's time to impeach somebody. So I can't believe how Pelosi approached that. So what should Andrew Yang's approach be? And I don't have to apologize for just loving on Yang on this show. I'm so huge a fan of Yang. Yang is executing perfectly. He doesn't need to change a thing, not a thing. And so here's why. All he's got to do is show his true self. He's got to get out there, show his hustle, and the other thing that I love, he went on Ruben. I think it was I think Rubin's his last name, and he went on an interview show, and the guy was a reporter, and he said, "Hey, I had Yang on, and normally when I have any politician on, they give me a long list of don't ask this, hit this point." And Yang was just this guy Rubin was amazingly astounded that Yang rolled in, answered every question, knocked it out of the park. Yang's just, and I'm convinced, right? There was a Keanu Reeves movie, and the whole point of the movie, he was like a baseball coach, and the whole point of the movie was like, just show up, and good things will happen. Yang has got to remain in. He's got to qualify for every debate. He's got to remain standing. I'm convinced Yang doesn't need to beat anybody. Every single one of these politicians is going to fold under their own weight. Yang is a rock star, and every moment he's on screen, more people will see it. That's why I love the debate so much, is he is radiant. There's just light shining off of him, and we're just catching it. And all he's got to do. So I would not change a single thing. And the more he ignores the impeachment and just keeps rolling with his amazing, awesome, crowd surfing, basketball playing, noodle eating, amazing, awesome, killer campaign, the better.
Yeah. Interestingly, this is a great conversation, Scott, because I think you and I agree on like sort of 60-40. Like we agree on a lot of things, but we have enough disagreement where it's like, I don't know. So for me, I'm a little worried, to be honest with you. I'm a little worried that this impeachment is going. It's not like Yang was getting a lot of media coverage before. And so now it's like, oh, shoot, there's a giant elephant in the room now. Yeah. And everybody's going to be staring at the big, orange elephant. Yeah. And then whatever's left over is going to go to Biden and Warren. So I kind of feel like if I were Yang's campaign, I think they need to find a way to change the game, because I don't think if he just continues to be really smart and data driven and pragmatic, like that's great for us who want that, but that's not landing with some other people. So let me share let's look at some charts. We've got some polling data here.
I love your charts, man. I love your charts. But as you pull this up, I really want to thank you for all your hard work and everything you've been doing. I love your charts and I love your show. You do a great job. Go right ahead.
Well, thanks, Scott. And I basically now I used to make my own charts, but now I just look at other people's charts.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool.
But here you go. Like, of course, we've got this wonderful moment, the 8% with Emerson.
Oh, huge.
But then you go up a little bit, and you've got Harvard Harris and economists at 3 and 2, and it's almost October. Yeah. And the Iowa caucus is in like February, or let me see, when is Iowa caucus?
Yeah, and so you're worried about that, right? Here's the reason I'm not worried.
February.
Because right now I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. It's just the Wizards right now. The Muggles haven't showed up yet. They ain't going to show up for 6 more months. So and by that time, I really think Yang was going to deal with his name recognition problem. I really think we're going to have continued momentum in it and just getting the word out. And actually, him being awesome on camera is the real key. Go ahead. So
the chart you're predicting is that all of this, and we're kind of down here in the bottom clump. You're saying that's representative of the people, the early kind of hardcore political junkies that care, but then once the Muggles pay attention and they see this guy, our line is gonna hockey stick up.
Yeah. However, also let's talk about it. Okay, so these numbers are hard and they are disheartening, right? So I did talk earlier. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons player, right? And the reality is, I do believe. I wish it wasn't true, but I do believe Andrew Yang is a long shot. He has to be a long shot, and the reason why is the brilliant things are destroyed in this world. Like, so one of the coolest shows that ever existed was Serenity, Joss Whedon's show, Firefly. Sorry, and like this world, it hates brilliance. And the reality is, I don't believe for 1 second that Andrew Yang is never going to be a long shot, right? So if we pull this off, it is going to be a huge accomplishment. We will pull this off. I believe Yang. And the reason why is Yang is a once in 10 generation leader. He's Churchill. Yang is Asian Churchill. He is the whole ball of wax, right? And at the end of the day, we are going to work and we're going to work and we're going to work. Every Yang supporter is going to work until we reach. Every day I'm doing a Yang video, right? Every day, right? And I'm doing more than that as well. Buying merch. I have my sign out front. I'm talking to people. We're going to work. And basically all we're doing is we're increasing the numbers. When we roll our dice in November, I think it's going to be 1 out of, if we get over a 3 on a D20, we're going to win, and the reality is we're just increasing our chances. But I don't think for a second we're going to roll our dice in November. And that's all we can do. We work, and we roll the dice, and we're hoping our number comes up. We didn't talk about this. Sanders, Biden, and Warren, they're all older. And I'll tell you right now, if they have a Hillary stumble, changes the whole game. Changes the whole game. And that could happen any time.
So your argument is hold on. Your argument is that the people in front of us, Biden, Warren, and Sanders, you think at least one of them is going to have a moment where people are going to be concerned about their fitness for running for president?
Absolutely. Biden's already had it. The other thing is, what explains these numbers, right? Well, I'll tell you, people are used to voting for politicians. And we've only had one non-politician president in memory, and that's Trump. And also, people, frankly, a lot of people are like, hey, you know, from a monetary perspective, that worked out pretty good, you know. And so the reality is there's a huge amount of American history momentum. Biden and Warren and Sanders are there because people are like, oh, well, politics, I should vote for a politician. And we are in the Yang camp are just working so hard to say, no, if you want a great political leader, do not ever, ever, ever again elect a politician. Yep.
Yet the party's leading candidate now has been in politics for like 40 years.
But again, that comes from 240 years of American history, and that's one of the reasons. You know, I don't, you know, kind of shy away from this for a second. We're on the underdog side.
Yeah,
there's no two ways about it. We have the true champion. We got the Batman in this, right? You know, and everybody else is the rogues gallery. They're all, you know, Mr. Freeze and Joker and the rest. You know, we have the Batman. But it's hard to see. People are very used to voting for politicians and thinking, and from a logical perspective, that's the other thing is Yang. That's another tough sell on Yang. He's completely non-intuitive. I believe like we have an incredibly complex world, and the gold of this world is in the non-intuitive, and Yang's the gold.
So my analogy would be, obviously, I think he's the best candidate for the general and for the country. But I also worry that, you know, when companies hire people, it's very easy to hire the traditional job candidate. Like, oh, they went to this school. They graduate with honors. They did this major. Oh, and I know someone who went to, you know, boarding school with him and all this stuff. And he or she looks like a VP of finance, right?
Yeah. So
and I worry like we're up against that. The implicit bias.
How do we beat it, right? So you talked about this before, and I did just say that he needs to remain in place and just keep doing what he's doing. Now, I do think his political team right now should be forming the "Let's Get Crazy" plan, right? So you know, I think it was Joker in the Michael Keaton Batman. It was like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts, right? So here's what he could do to get nuts and really jump out, right? So one, I'm a huge fan of the Greenland. So one of them is so Yang could embrace every crazy idea that Trump had that was not heritage based, right? Trump is terrible on heritage. Like, do we come from the same ancestors? Are we the same, you know, from our lineage, right? He's horrible on it. Just terrible, right? But he has a lot of other ideas which are not that crazy. I'm a huge fan of buying Greenland. I think this is massive, right? So one of the things that Yang could do is he could say, okay, we're going to buy Greenland and steal Trump's idea from him, right? The other one is Mars. I'm a huge fan of Mars. And Andrew Yang could say, if I get elected, we will have 8 people starting the colony on Mars within my first 4 years. We're going to put a colony on the moon. We're going to go to Mars. We're going to build mass drivers in Ohio. Like I'm going to spend billions. I'm going to spend multiple billions. America will plant flag on Mars for a new colony. That's a let's get nuts plan. You know, the buy Greenland plan. And if you go onto my channel, you will find no less than half a dozen to a dozen let's get nuts plans. He should have those in a folder, and if it's clear that nothing's working, bust them out.
All right, let me show you another chart. that and I forgot that we got to get to any topics that you want to as well. So we'll do the chart and then we'll go to your topics.
Yeah.
So here's my equivalent, and it's not quite Joker getting nuts, but this is a little bit of maybe let's call this a shock and awe strategy, which is to say, like, we clearly own YouTube, we own Twitter, we own Google search, like we are kicking ass.
Yeah.
But we are not reaching older people.
Yeah.
We are not reaching a lot of African American voters, and we're really struggling with women as well.
Yeah.
And many of those demographic groups do still watch television.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like, well, if we have a candidate with zero name recognition who kind of came out of nowhere, although, I mean, obviously he was super successful in the private sector and as a philanthropist, but came out of nowhere in terms of Beltway kind of name recognition. You look at Steyer. Steyer has spent enormous amount of money, but it also explains why in early states he's like 4 or 5%, you know?
Yeah.
And you wonder, I mean, this is where it does come into play about all of us kind of pitching in on the money side. Yeah. Because you could argue for Yang, he actually has the least money, but he needs the money the most.
Yeah, he does.
And I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like, if we had a bigger war chest, do you think we could move the needle?
Absolutely. We absolutely need more money. And I think it's one of the toughest things too, is I will tell you right now, I'm all for money in politics. This whole grassroots donor thing, I think is complete nonsense. And I think it's a bunch of noise from the candidates. Nobody's actually committed to grassroots politics, right? The reality is wealth. I mean, like, this is just a logic issue. There's so many issues. There's just a logic issue. Money talks, right? And that's the voice that you're going to hear. So he needs money, and he really is going to need to continue to find a way to attract big donors, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the way he does that is he just continues to get in front of the camera. He continues to keep his numbers up. His plan is working. We just had a poll where he's in 4th, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why I think, like, hey, we're getting there, right? But the other thing, so everything about Yang elevates him, and everything about every other candidate like pulls them to the ground. They're so heavy, right? And so, but the other issue is, so there, we talked about about demographics he needs to reach, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pull one of them out. The women issue, we need to talk about that separate. I'm going to talk about every other group, right? Okay. One of the issues that Yang has right now is he's a podcast. I love podcasts. Podcasts are listened to by the smartest people in the world, but they are certainly not listened to by most of the people. And that's Yang. He is attracting the smartest people in the room, right? And if you are smart, you look at him and you go, oh my goodness, there hasn't been a person like this in 10 generations. This dude is going to return character to the presidency. He's double Ivy League genius. He moves like crazy. He's 44 years old. Like, also the fact that he's Asian, I think it's huge advantage. It's a huge advantage. It does, America has a different history with Asians than we do with certainly with African Americans. And and thank God we put in Obama when we did, because it's been a mess. But so I think he is attracting the smartest people. We need to get most of the people, right? And so he needs to transition attraction of smart people to attraction of most people. Now, how do we deal with the woman issue, right? How do we deal with women being attracted at mass at much higher numbers to the Yang to the Yang campaign, to be Yang supporters? It's really tough. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about, and I hope I'm wrong about this, but I think at the there's many women who this does not apply to. But at the macro level, at the 51% level, I have this idea. I could totally be wrong about this, that security matters to women. And so one of the reasons why everybody looks at Trump and Trump's like this big mystery puzzle to everybody. He's not a mystery puzzle to me. He offered security, talked about security. And I think at the macro level, just at the 51% level, I think women may be more concerned about security than we are talking about. And I don't think Democrats even have any space to even think about that, right? Because we're kind of like open borders and the other issue is Democrats have a really progressive view of how women should be given more opportunity today, right? But I'm not positive that 51% of all women are signed on to that. And one of the things the Democrats have done a absolutely horrendous job of is honoring and attracting Trump voters. So let's do it, right? I don't think the Democrats should waste any time rallying the base. Trump has already rallied the base. He has terrified the Democrats. If there's a Democrat left who's planning on not voting, nothing the Democrats are going to do is going to persuade them. The best base rallier for the Democrats ever is Trump, right? And so all the Democrats need to be focused on right now is getting Trump voters. It's a 2-for-1 swing. You take it from Trump, you add it to your own. And this is what worries me the most, is Democrats, not only are they not good at it, they're not willing to do it. And that's, if anything's going to beat Yang, it's that.
Scott, you dropped a lot of points there. I have to disagree with you on a couple. Just so it's an open conversation. So I do believe that the data shows that a candidate can raise massive amounts of money with small donations. And I think Bernie is an example of that. And I think if Yang were able to do something even close, it would give us the capital and resources to reach some of these groups that aren't listening to podcasts, that aren't watching YouTube live streams about on a Sunday, like these 186 amazing people now and on replay. Yes, that's right. So, but let's at least, would we agree? I think your point is you're not convinced about the source of the money, and you think like, hey, corporate money is just like big money is always going to be part of it. But would you agree that Yang needs more and we need to deploy it more? Or do you think we can get away with just the organic content and his efforts so far?
I'll make it clear. I want him to have $20,000 a plate fundraisers.
I see what you mean. Right.
That's nonsense. I don't care about, Sally in Minnesota giving $20. Let's get with the big donors. Let's do it, man.
Right.
Hollywood should be bringing them in. We should be I want 20 grand a plate fundraisers. And the reason why is I want to win. I'm not right now. Right and should is a luxury. It's about what's going to work. And we need that do-re-mi. And the way you get that is with big donors. So go get them. Go back to Silicon Valley. Go to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Get it.
Okay. I would love for him to raise most of his money from small donors so he doesn't feel beholden to some of these power players. But at the end of the day, I want him to win.
Yeah.
And if he needs more money to buy airtime, to get more people to know about him, and he has to do more of these dinners, like that may be kind of like, don't hate the player, hate the game kind of thing.
Exactly.
So and the other thing that you mentioned was about, we touched on a hot topic here with women, which is kind of ironic. It's two guys talking about women's issues, but
yeah,
let me take this position. Like, even if I were to agree with you that there's some sizable portion of women voters who are concerned about security, and maybe the Democratic Party is not speaking to that need, we still have a problem. And I agree with you that in the general, you don't need the base because the base is just likely going to vote against Trump. But in order to get the nomination, we kind of need the base. And the data suggests that Democratic women who are looking at all of the Democratic candidates are gravitating towards Warren and Biden way more than Yang. I mean, the Emerson data was like Yang's doing great with Hispanics, with 18 to 29, with moderates, with disgruntled Republicans, Asians, people making 100K and more, but women and older people and white people, he is not doing great. And so I kind of feel like, well, something's not working. Like we're not dialed in. If I think he only had like, I want to say like 2 or 3% of Democratic women supporting him versus like 15% of Democratic men.
I don't agree that we need the base. Believe it or not, I don't think that Yang wins by attracting the Democrat base. And the reality is, I am fully, and I get it. If people disagree with me, I fully understand it. And the reality is, I'm very much, yeah, let's win, right? Like I get where people are like, hey, I'm a Democrat, you need to respect me, and I've been around here forever. But the reality is, the Democrats have been losing for a long time, and I think they're really heading toward loss again. And frankly, if you want somebody who's going to rally the base, Biden, Sanders, and Warren, they're preaching every single special thing that the Democrats want, and they will rock the primary and absolutely slam into a wall in the general. Trump will destroy them, right? So the reality is, in my opinion, we have to embrace the long shot part, and Yang does not win by rallying the base. The base is already rallied. Trump has done a better job of rallying the Democrats than any Democrat has ever done. And the reality is, I think Yang just says, listen, you want the same, go get it from any other candidate. You want to change the world. You want capitalism that doesn't start at zero. You want to drown out wealth with the democracy dollars. You want a president who's going to return. You want a person who's going to return character to the presidency after 30 years of abandoning it, except for Obama. He was awesome. Who I voted for twice. To me, Yang has to embrace his super unique specialness. And the other issue is, I totally understand what you're saying. And we are shooting the gap. What we are trying to do is, Tony Hawk's 900. This is incredibly difficult. And our only chance is to just try. But I really don't think pandering to the base helps Yang. Because I barely think he's a Democrat. I think he's just an amazing, awesome human being. Yeah.
But the base is those are the people that are in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. If we could fast forward to the general, we'd crush this thing.
How do we get to it? And the other thing, go ahead. Sorry.
You'd have to convince yourself, and I think it's true. It's possible. It's plausible. You'd have to convince yourself that the base is going to come to the same conclusion that, hey, our goal is to beat Trump. That's the number one goal. So we need to nominate someone that has the best chance of beating Trump. And then they have to conclude, if in our perfect world, that Yang is that guy. And I don't know if they're getting there, and I feel like we need to figure out how to get them there, because they're not getting there themselves.
You're totally right? But one of the reasons why I'm so hopeful, I understand your worry, and I have a lot of sympathy for your worry, right? But one of the reasons why I'm so hopeful is Yang himself, right? The reality is, we've been talking about it for a while, right? And I don't think I have the fully correct answer, and I don't think you have the fully correct answer, but I think we'll have the correct answer exactly in the time that needs. Yang. He's smarter than me. He's smarter than you. He's smarter than probably the two of us together. And frankly, I think and that's why I'm so excited, is he has the keys. He is moving forward. And I really believe, and he is noodling on this, man. I think he is thinking really hard. And I think he's gonna pull it out. I really do. And so the reason why I really believe he's Asian Churchill, it's like he's just a once in 10 generation person. He's so special. And it just gives me so much joy and so much hope. And I'm so happy and excited to be supporting someone who's not the lesser of two evils, but is someone. I shook his hand on September 17th right here in Philadelphia on the steps of the Philadelphia Art Museum. It's one of the defining moments of my life. This is the person who's going to get us there.
Well, let's take a quick commercial break to remind people of how important. Now, we both agree, Scott, that he needs money.
Yeah.
And I think so we are now at 87% of the way to securing the Nerds for Yang 20K challenge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're like in a spitting distance. And once we get to that 20K, one of the questions I will definitely ask Andrew is, how are you going to figure out the women voter and African-American voter thing? Because, hey, let me pull up some charts that we can look at together, Andrew.
Yeah.
And I'm a little worried, like, talk me down. But if people want to hear the answer to that question and other ones, they can donate to tinyurl.com/NFY20. All the money goes to the campaign. The only thing is it's used to just track how much this channel has helped raise. And that basically helps me convince their scheduler why they should give his precious time to this random YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your topics. What topics did you want to hit?
So one of the things I'm really excited about is I believe that we're in this, the complexity on our world has absolutely skyrocketed. And so I'm really excited about how non-Euclidean, how counterintuitive Andrew Yang is. And one of the things that we've seen for a long time are presidents who are like, perfect example, this is Trump. He's like, American steel. I need to put tariffs on American steel. And the government needs to be really involved in determining how we make steel. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think manufacturing in America is, come on, it's a bygone era. It barely matters. What matters is like, that Jeff Bezos has $160 billion. Tech is the real deal, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the things I love is when Yang gets in, we could be seeing a president who could do some really counterintuitive things. And I would really like to see the president get involved in entertainment. I think that entertainment is the new steel, right? Like, no, you never hear Democrats talk. There has not been a single Democrat who's talked about Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame made almost $3 billion. It shipped to every country on the planet, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and the reality is there was just a massive deal between Sony and Disney, right? And Disney hardballed Sony. Right. And I would love to see the president start to get involved in entertainment the way presidents have been getting involved in steel and a whole bunch of other things. What's your thought on that?
That's a really interesting point. I mean, certainly I totally agree that in terms of economic value, media and entertainment is something that the U.S. economy really is continues to be a leader in and an innovator in. I would say that, and this is, as many people know, I'm also a former Republican and more of a libertarian. And I'm leery of when the government gets too involved in any industry. And so that's kind of why I like the universal basic income, because it's like, it's not the government picking winners and losers. It's saying, hey, we think there's a floor. And the VAT tax is also cross-industrial. It's like based on value. It's not saying, oh, we're going to only make Amazon pay taxes, but not Boeing or anybody else. So my view is I agree that entertainment is one of the growth areas and strategic industries for America. I guess the question is, what is the role of the federal government in that? And part of me feels like the role should be to get out of the way and tax and sort of like participate in the winnings. But I wouldn't want, like, if I'm at Disney and I'm producing like Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever, I don't know that I want whoever's in the White House telling me, oh, you need to do more of this or less of that. But that's just my take.
I hear you. I think the other one I wanted to talk about is I think the magic. There's so many awesome things about Yang's campaign and what's been happening with him. We're looking at history. I really think people are going to look back. And when I think he's going to be sitting in the Oval Office on January 20th, 2021. And I think people will look back at this campaign. And one of the things I think was absolutely most brilliant thing Yang did was his opponent selection. I think opponent selection is critical. What people haven't caught up to is that, two things: intersectionality and punching down. Okay. So if you have any intersectionality now, you're really not a valid opponent. You can't be chosen as an opponent where somebody can really roll up hard on you. Right. And the thing is, this wouldn't matter, but the media loves combat. They love intellectual combat. And that's what politics is. Right. So one, you have that. So you had that intersectionality issue. And there was one more aspect to that as far as opponent selection. So you really can't go hard against intersectionality. And so Yang he didn't choose a person at all, right? He chose capitalism at 0 and he shows robots. I really think he's down with robots. Everybody's like gives us 3-paragraph like answer, but the reality is he's like down with robots. I think that's what everybody's And the other thing is he keeps giving this, I'm not against automation, but like build the wall worked. And the reality is I really think he should be starting to embrace down with robots. So my point is, what's your take on the importance of opponent selection in politics today and how it's really different than punching down. That's the other one. You cannot be seen to be punching down, right? And this is new. Like even 5, 10, 15 years ago, people love to see people get destroyed. I think Harris is out of this election because she did an early, very hard attack on Biden, and that's fundamentally different. I think opponent selection has utterly changed, and the genius of Andrew Yang was choosing capitalism that starts at zero as his main opponent and robots as his second opponent. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting when you mentioned that Trump's build the wall and lock her up was very, very effective. I mean, we can say it now off the top of our head, no problem. That's how clever it was and memorable it was, and it resonated, and it kind of matched this very classic kind of good versus evil, and there's a villain, and USA and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah. And
I do worry. I have two views on this. On the one hand, I think I love the fact that Yang isn't really spending a lot of time demonizing anyone, and that he's focusing on problems and root causes and solutions. And as a rational kind of, scientific method guy, I'm like, well, this sounds great. This is how we should think about things. On the other hand, I'm a little bit concerned because we do live in a world where voters, not all voters, like the scientific method and like saying, hey, let's look at the data and let's look at the assumptions and what are our hypotheses. And so I kind of feel like for us to go the distance, we need to find some sort of middle ground, which is keeping what makes Yang special, which is his logical, kind of rational, kind of innovative and kind of forward thinking and constructive and detailed solutions. But he also does need that kind of zing, right?
Yep.
And the math and the data stuff, I think it works for us. I don't think it's gonna cross over. Yeah. And maybe if you're a mainstream woman voter, a bunch of people in a math hat, even if it's pink, may not resonate. And so I do worry a little bit about how do we humanize Andrew? How do we make it more of a we're all in it together moment, and have sort of a path towards victory that everybody can resonates with everyone. And in marketing, they often say your message needs to have handles. It needs to have something you can hold on to.
Gotta be carried. Yep.
And for me, balanced scorecard, American scorecard is oh, I love that stuff. But I don't know if a lot of people get as excited about it.
Exactly.
And, even this whole channel, Nerds for Yang, there's a natural ceiling to the audience that's going to want to watch, our kind of stuff. And so I kind of agree with you that we haven't cracked that code. And maybe that's part of the reason why we haven't broken through as much as we want to on the polls. Because, when you look at Warren, I think she has these big American corporations are screwing everybody, and I'm sick and tired of that, and I'm gonna stick it to them, right?
Yeah.
And with Yang, his boogeyman is technology and automation, and it's not really against it, but it's sort of the impact and dislocation of workers and industries that are affected by it. That's a lot of nuance there, and it's hard to put that on a bumper sticker.
Here's what we put on a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
A G for you, down with robots. A G for you every month, down with robots.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with you that being anti something would be would give it some handles.
Yep.
I think from a policy point of view, my position is technology is kind of it's here. It's not going anywhere. It will continue to progress. Robots, artificial intelligence, I think it's just sort of too efficient for companies to not use it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And so like, well, what are we going to do? Like literally like torch a bunch of automated factories? Like, you know, I just feel like I worry a little bit that it's sort of putting a target on a trend, which is almost unavoidable. And in a way, if done well, if we can harness the power of technology, it should make everybody's life easier. So versus, you know, blocking it.
Yeah. And you're saying, hey, we really shouldn't be saying down with robots because, you know, we're going to use them and tech's good, right? I get all that, right? But the reality is we really need to focus on, let's win, right? And the down with robots thing, I'm so convinced on this, right? And the reason why is the down with robots, I totally agree with you. Automation's going to be there. We're going to use tech, right?
Yeah.
But the down with robots, if you're going to shift from smart to most people, right, you need something understandable. And the down with robots can be a booster component, right? You're right. It's going to burn. We're going to burn the fuel out of it, and it's going to drop off as our rocket goes to the top. Like it'll be gone. You're right. It's just a booster rocket. It'll fall to the earth and splash into the ocean. And then when we're on, and that's another issue that I'm so proud of Andrew Yang. I'm so thankful for what he's doing. But I also think you got, you know, getting there is not the same as doing the job. And we really need some booster rockets. We need some stuff that we're just going to burn up and it's going to fall in the ocean and we ain't going to care. As soon as we're elected, nobody going to care about down with robots, right? We'll be taking care of people, but you got to have that build that wall handled message, right? And you know, and that's one of my focuses, and it's one of and also on my channel you'll see me. I don't just point at problems. I'm like, this is what he should do, and I wish more reporters and more pundits to be like, here's the problem. This is how you should fix it, even if you're wrong. Like I'd rather hear you say some wrong, silly idea than nothing. I'm really getting kind of tired of reporters and pundits who point at the problem and don't have a solution. Like, why are you here? Like, and so I really feel like we really need to kick into, let's win mode. And we're going to have some booster rockets. You know, we're going to have some booster components that we use now. We ain't going to care about them later.
Well, we agree that we gotta change the game to move that line chart up and to the right. And I agree. We need to do some bold things. I mean, he's a bold leader with bold ideas, but I also think the campaign needs to be bolder as well because the numbers aren't. The numbers need to be better. And
I don't know. Like, see, we're 14 months out, right? And the reality is, I know this sounds strange, but I honestly think we're going to win when the Hillary stumble happens. I think there's another Hillary stumble coming up. And I think one single Hillary stumble will hit Sanders, Biden, and Warren. And I think it's coming. I know you are so good with numbers, but the reality is I pay attention to patterns and trends. And I really feel like the numbers don't worry me in the least. I don't think Yang's going to beat anybody. He's just going to remain standing, and every other candidate's going to fold under their own weight.
Well, I hope you're right. And we'll see. I guess we'll see. I mean, The other thing is, like, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we had a few extra booster rockets and landed on Mars with a little extra fuel. Like I'd rather do that than not enough kind of aggressive, kind of bold moves. Or if you're if you're a football fan, like I think we got to air it out a little bit and throw some deep balls, you know?
And I totally agree. And I've thrown a whole bunch of ideas, on my channel. Once a week, I'll say something. He should go, do X, Y, Z and get really nuts. And I think there are times when now he himself has really walked away from that. He's really just like, I'm here, I'm doing the thing, I'm showing up, I'm keeping the ball rolling. And one of the things we talked about is the money thing. The money thing is tough. He's got to grind. He's got to get that cash, and it's going to be really tough. And honestly, I don't make any excuses, and I don't think for 1 second this is a long shot. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to roll our dice. It's a tough one.
So Scott, I know we're a little over the 30 minutes that I discussed. That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Absolutely, yeah.
One thing I wanted to get before we wrap up is, how should people learn more about you and kind of stay kind of in touch with you as you continue tracking this campaign and sharing your ideas?
Right here on YouTube. My focus is YouTube. J. Scott Garibay. So I am Scott Garibay. I have a J, and my full name is John Scott Garibay. But if you simply Google J. Scott Garibay to reach my and then bounce onto any of my videos, and I have over 1,400 videos that I've done in the 5.5 years I've been on YouTube. I'm very easily findable there. If you find me on Twitter, you will find that I love politics, but it's not the only thing I'm passionate about. So my Twitter stuff is mixed. So there's politics, and yeah, that's me. Exactly. And honestly, every day on that channel, you will find a new Yang video. And I would, and please continue to watch those. I also just want to say thank you to everyone who watches them and comments on them. And I also do want to just say, Tom, this is hard. I find YouTube very difficult. It's one of the most difficult things I do. And you have really been an inspiration. The fact that you actually interviewed Yang, I watched that with such joy. And also I find it hard to just produce my content and encourage others to look at Yang. And I wish I could do some of these more organizing steps that some other people do. But I have a husband and I have 4 kids, right? So I really don't want to overpromise anything. But I really want to say thank you to all the Yang supporters out there who go so far beyond me and are really, putting together marches and doing donations and doing phone banking. Patrick Kagi is an intellectual champion for me. And I really, again, I just want to thank you for all that you've done.
Oh, well, thanks for saying that, Scott. And I should say that you are producing a ton of content. As you can see here, let me go to the videos list.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy watching your stuff. And that's honestly, as a content creator, I know how busy, how busy we are.
Yeah.
Especially like with day jobs and families.
Exactly.
But I do watch your stuff because I always find, like, maybe it's because we don't agree on everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I don't agree with that. But it's very kind of provocative.
Thank you.
And I did want to do you have a little bit of time, because I realized we did not take questions from the audience, and there's 180 concurrents right on.
Yeah.
So guys, nerds, if you want to put in your questions, I will try and ask Scott as many of them as I can. And if I don't answer it, the chat kind of sometimes flows fast, really quick. So if you really care deeply about your question, you're welcome to re-enter it. And then in the meantime, Scott, I just had one random question. Where are you driving all the time?
The car thing is totally just a time issue, and I'm always driving somewhere different. So it is completely, fully, 100% a time issue. That's the only reason I do that, and it is really helpful from a time perspective, because I think that's one of the things that's really, really different about my channel is there are people who are like, I'm going pro. I'm a complete amateur. I've never made a dime on 5 years on YouTube. I've never made a single dime. I'm actually kind of proud of that, and it allows me to have a lot of independence.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole, for that, and I'm also very careful too in that I've been watching, like, because you can basically, because people can use phones, right? And so I just set it up and I forget it's there, right? And I focus on what I'm doing. And the whole reason I do those in my car is just this time issue. It allows me to create content. I do 1 video a day, and it's the only way I could possibly do it. And one of the reasons why, and it's really strange, because there's so many content people that are just surpassing me in every possible way, in quality and in creativity and all these other things. And I do my channel on very little time. And the reason why is I have a full-time job. I work 10 or more hours a day. And then also I have a beautiful wife who has been my wife for 28 years, and I have 4 kids. And I have hobbies, and I read comic books, right? Like, so the reality is I'm always amazed how these creators create stuff. And so the only reason I shoot videos in my car is it's a time issue.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And It is so people don't realize. Some people may not realize how much time it takes to produce this content and edit it and get the thumbnail and the metadata and all this stuff.
I have no my thumbnail. There was a guy who was on my channel the other day, and he's like, "Your thumbnail's terrible," and I was like, "Dude, that's my face."
That's right. Actually, you don't. It doesn't look like you don't do custom thumbnails.
Exactly. It's a time, right? And this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Yang. He does more with less, and I'm trying to do that in my life. I'm trying to do more with less. Time is the true coin of life.
I feel you, brother.
Yeah.
Now I will say you guys should absolutely subscribe to Scott's channel, because as you can tell from this conversation, like he's not like repeating the Yang 2020 talking points like verbatim, and he's got different perspectives, and I really enjoy it. So
thank you. And actually, I do want to talk about that just a little bit. I really struggle to say unique things. I'm trying to say something that's unique to me and that has not been said by 20 other content creators. Yeah, go ahead.
So Tuber70 wants to know, what car do you drive?
I have a 2009 Kia Spectra. It has a spoiler, right? And the reason I got it is I'm a huge Fast and Furious fan. So my dream car would be a JDM, Japanese domestic market, like 1992 Honda CRX. But I'm poor. No, I'm not poor. Actually, I'm not poor at all. I have a ton of money, and my kids keep saying, I need clothes, I need food. So yeah,
these kids, crazy questions.
So that 2009 Honda Kia Spectra XL with a cool spoiler is my attempt to be Paul Walker with his dope Nissan Skyline.
Dude, if you like Fast and Furious type cars, you would probably have appreciated my car when I was in Seattle before I came out to Switzerland. Now I take the train. But I had, do you remember, or you're familiar with the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? It's a JDM classic, dude.
Yeah, that's me, man. I had that. I also had an aftermarket exhaust. My neighbors really loved me.
Oh, those are love those.
All right, so we could spend a lot of time talking about cars, but let's see. Someone was asking about Joe Rogan throwing Yang under the bus. What are your thoughts on that? I'm not super up to that.
I am a 100% huge Joe Rogan fan. I love Joe Rogan, and I don't care what he just said. And the reason why is, for one, I think Joe Rogan is the future of politics. Is the future of journalism. And Yang is the future of politics. I love Joe Rogan. And my biggest thing on Joe Rogan is he gave time, attention, and respect when no one else was. I actually think that Joe Rogan's interview was an absolute launching pad for Yang. And I think every single Yang supporter owes a gigantic debt to Joe Rogan.
So there are, I guess the controversy is there are some people suggesting that he recently said, I guess, negative things about Yang.
It came from the climate change thing. Yang said some things about, so Joe Rogan is hardcore meat eater, right?
Oh,
yeah, exactly. And then Andrew Yang was like, hey, I'm going to roll up hard on meat and everybody's going to be vegan. He said other stuff that he said a lot less than that, right? But I, by the way, I'm almost always talking at the macro level. I don't care about exceptions. I want to talk at the macro level, especially in politics. Like, that's what politics is. It's an aggregation, right? And so basically, Joe Rogan I think he had some, harsh words for Andrew Yang now. But the reality is I pay attention to the long game. And I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that Joe Rogan's interview got at least 5 million viewers. It may be as high between the YouTube and the YouTube and the podcast. It might be 15 million watchers and viewers. 15 million watchers and viewers 7 months ago. We owe Joe Rogan a debt. Every Yang supporter should drive out to Hollywood, where he is, wherever he shoots his show, and give him a hug. We owe him.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, Rogan has done so much that he could almost do anything, and I would be like, well, it's still a net positive because he put us on the map.
The other thing that's brilliant about Rogan is everybody's like, I don't like the debate soundbite, right? You forget Joe Rogan exists. Anybody who wants to, if you want to tell the people what you believe, roll out and talk on Rogan for 3, 4, 5 hours. Rogan will go as long as you want, and he will be totally fair to you. And he has Joe Rogan is the absolute future of journalism. And Rachel Maddow just this week brought Yang on, and after Yang Media Blackout was trending for 2 months, talked to him for 2 minutes and dismissed him like a dog, right? So Rachel Maddow this week treated him with disrespect. Joe Rogan treated him with time, attention, and respect 7 months ago. So I ain't concerned about a couple harsh words he said this week.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny that, well, it's not funny. It's not surprising that Warren and Biden have avoided all long form interviews, even like Meet the Press and This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Like they're scared, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing is that's why Yang is so smart, right? Because the reality is, Joe Rogan would walk Biden off a cliff. He would walk him into 15 corn pop stories, and by the time Joe Rogan was done, Biden would not be a candidate for local dog walker.
Yeah, well, that's something we agree on 100%. All right. So someone's saying, hey, you both were Republicans. Tom is a libertarian. Can you talk about Ron Paul? Anything Yang can learn from his grassroots campaign? What do you think?
Ron Paul, boy, nobody's going to like this. Meaningless. And the reason why is I want to circle back to my women comment, right? Like, so I said that I think maybe 51% of all women are concerned about security. I don't know if that's the case. I think it's one of the reasons why Yang is struggling, right? Ron Paul is I honestly, you're exactly right. You and me talking about, women and how they can help Yang supporters and Yang get forward, right? We really need women voices in here. And so, by the way, I'm gonna talk about what I think is one of the women who I think is one of those. Paget Kage's a rock star. She's killing it, right? But Alyssa Monet Mason, huge voice for Yang. I love her stuff. She's really powerful. I met her again at the Philadelphia rally and Yang rally. And so the thing is, like, and that's just it. Ron Paul was a Gleared, glasses and beard candidate, right? Like, I think there's a lot of candidates who are attracting Gleards, like glasses and beards, like, and it's nice, but you ain't gonna win nothing with it. We really need, and you're right. You and I don't have the magic sauce that Andrew Yang can use to attract women voters. And the reason why is we're ignorant. We're at the macro level, we're ignorant of it, right? Yeah. And the reality is we need, and honestly, Paget Kage is probably one of the, she's our greatest hope, right? Because we really need women to come on board, and you and I aren't going to get it. And Ron Paul, he don't excite me because like all he was exciting to was Gleards.
Yeah, my take on Ron and libertarians is I actually think the Yang candidacy is just way more pragmatic and achievable. And sometimes the libertarian stuff is so extreme that it's like, we don't need public schools anymore. It's like, okay, well, that is not going to win the White House. And so I feel like I kind of like that Yang has some libertarian kind of mojo, but he's not like hardcore libertarian. The same way he's not like hardcore Democrat or hardcore any. He's kind of like post-partisan in a weird way.
Yeah, that's a great word. I totally agree. That's a really good way to think about it. Yeah.
All right, here's a question. Where do you think Yang will be after the October debate?
Oh, I think he's going to crush it. I think he's going to absolutely dominate debate number 4. I think somebody's going to attack him. That's going to be broken ice, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, I think the other candidates are going to be circling him like a hawk. Like they're going to be. I think every debate is absolute gold for Yang. And the other thing is, just so you're aware, there's like Marianne Williamson and all those other candidates who are still in the race. They're gone, right? There's 12 people, and even Tulsi, right? She's coming back. Tom Steyer. These people don't matter. Like I honestly think, I see Yang, and I'm like this. Like I can barely see past his brilliance and his radiance. and every other candidate is just the same pablum nonsense. And so I think every time you put him on international television, By the way, we are 16 days away from the Ohio CNN NYT debate number 4. And I am telling you, he is going to crush it, right? And the only problem that I see is can Yang's followers recognize his brilliance, right? Because when you look at him, you're like, you got to squint because you're so unused to seeing this level of awesomeness because because the politicians are so bad. I'm a big Bitcoin guy, right? Mm-hmm. So Bitcoin is worth $8,000 today. That is 4 times the value. So a string of numbers is worth 4 times the value of a solid gold 1 ounce coin, right? And the reason, and basically this is the issue. It's super non-intuitive, right? And we've just got to get people to see his value. And he's like Bitcoin. He's hard to understand, right? And that's the issue too. We have the greatest, awesomest candidate in the world, but he's non-intuitive. And we can't make him what everybody else is. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to thread the needle and get people to see this truly unique, wonderful, awesome candidate through all of his differences. That's where we're at.
I need a number, Scott. The last 2 weeks, we've been averaging at 3.3 in national polls. What do you think we will be, let's say, 2 weeks after the October debate?
I predict he passes Sanders. He'll be 3rd.
Oh, snap.
Yep.
Wow.
I also think there's going to be a boom moment. I think he's going to say something that could go down in history. Reagan had a soundbite. Reagan had this thing he said in one of the debates where somebody said to him, "Hey, you're old," and he's like, "Well, I refuse to bring up your youth and inexperience against you." Like it was a boom moment. Everybody was like, "Oh snap!" So I'm hoping for a boom moment. And I think
okay. So you got him at number 3. First of all, I hope you're right and I'm wrong. But my prediction, and I guess this will be on YouTube forever. My prediction is that I'm hoping that he will become number 5, so that he will pass Harris for the number 5 position. But shit, if he gets to number 3, I would be nothing would make me happier than that.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go to the next question. Someone saying that you have nice merch. Dude, hey Scott, you'll like the merch I'm wearing. I've got some old school merch.
Oh, nice. Check
you
that.
recognize? Oh shit, the fucking light. Yeah. It's a little worn out looking.
Yeah, is that Obama?
That's the Obama, man.
Oh,
08.
Good stuff.
I remember when I went to the caucus, there was a lot of Hillary Obama kind of tension. Yeah. And but yeah, we got it over the line. Let's see. That's next question. You do a lot of movie quotes or movie references. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, without a doubt, Star Wars. I saw Star Wars when I was in 1977. I was seven years old. It was in Savannah, Georgia. I remember the maroon carpet that was on the ground. I remember the yellow walls, right? And it actually burned down, and they rebuilt that exact theater. And I asked my wife, "Hey, can I go down and see Star Wars 7 in the same theater I saw when I was 11? In the same theater?" And she's like, "No." She thought it was great. So I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Some of my top. By the way, the reason why I talk about pop culture and politics is all of us, and I think this is really important for Yang. We got to start making politics fun for people. They look at these debates, and I'm just like eating my popcorn. I can't get enough of it. But most people just go like, "This is so boring." And so I'm trying to mix pop culture and politics to make it more interesting to people, right? So some of my top movies, Star Wars is huge. Blade Runner is super special to me. The Harry Potter movies are incredibly important to me. I am just a huge movie fan. I see easily 2 to 5, maybe 6 movies a month. And I'm just a huge movie fan. Yeah.
What is your opinion of my favorite movie, which is Black Hawk Down?
Oh, wow. Is that the one with Taylor? I can't even remember. Yeah.
That's the one in Mogadishu.
Oh, you're not going to like this answer. I hate movies about wars. And the reason why and here's why. I have incredible respect for my father served in Vietnam. And you know what he says about it? Nothing. He never talks about it, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, I have so much respect for our troops that to see Hollywood put their spin on it, I ain't down with that.
So on that movie, a lot of veterans said that it was one of the most kind of real and accurate portrayals, but we could do a whole nother stream about movies. It sounds like.
Actually, I don't even any kind of a movie that is about a real war. I haven't even seen them. It's all fiction. The other thing is, I'm a huge fiction guy.
Yeah. What do you do for a living? Are you in tech?
Yes, I am an information technology professional. I'm actually right now transitioning my skill set into cloud and cryptocurrencies. And I love tech. So my dad bought me an Atom computer. It recorded data on a cassette tape, right? And so, and by the way, YouTube is a complete extension of my love of technology. So I'm an information technology professional, and I really love tech. And right now I'm really working very hard to fully transition my skill set into cloud and into cryptocurrency.
I think that's a good move.
Thank you.
Especially, I hear this cloud thing's kind of a big deal.
Oh, it's yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Who will be Yang's VP?
Tulsi. It's got to be. And here's the thing: the VP question's already answered for everybody except Trump. Well, actually, and I guess he already has his, right? So nobody, and doesn't. So Tulsi should be Yang's VP, but the reality is Tulsi should be everybody's VP. Tulsi is the best candidate on that stage. And I'll tell you right now, every Yang supporter should be very, very glad that she took up non-interventionism. Because if she had run like everybody else, this would be done. Tulsi is a rock star. She crushes it, right? And the reality, so she's super smart. She has this really calm demeanor. She's brilliant. She's just brilliant. That dope white suit, man. She even has good fashion sense. The other thing is, like, she surfs and she does yoga. Like, her Twitter is amazing. But really, the reality is, from a pure politics talent perspective, nobody touches Tulsi. And frankly, there should be no VP conversation. Tulsi should be Andrew Yang's VP. And I said that 3 months ago. I said, like, I feel so like Tulsi's the VP, period. Done. That question's done.
So, like, pretty much everything in this conversation, I agree with like 48% of what you said. I love Tulsi too. I think Stacey Abrams should be the VP because I think she would be, I feel like she's untarnished by this whole process. She was smart to kind of sit out. And I think she helps us reach an important demographic, and the combination could be really interesting. But I would have no problem if Tulsi were the VP. I just think maybe Stacey might be a better choice.
Nope. I'm going to go at you on this one. So Stacey Abrams is a brilliant politician as well. I know that because Slate won't stop talking about her. So Slate loves her. Slate Political Gabfest loves Stacey Abrams. But I'll tell you right now, one of the things is logic trumps everything. And right now, if you ain't in front of the camera, you are dead. You're gone. And for the fact that Stacey Abrams has been off the camera this long, ain't nobody know or care about her. You've got to remain in front of the camera. That's why people care about Nancy Pelosi. That's why AOC is going to be the real threat in 2024. And don't tell me she's not going to run. Everybody's like, she's not old enough to run. She will be running in 2024, and Andrew Yang's going to have a tough time with her.
Wait a minute. If I can't not talk about AOC. You just brought up a very sort of interesting character there. Why would Andrew Yang have a tough time with her? Oh, in 2024.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, he'll win, and then he's going to run against AOC, and it's going to be a problem. Here's why
that she would primary him.
She would go against him in the primary. Are you kidding? AOC is a force of nature.
Sitting president? She would go after a sitting president in the Democratic Party.
Oh yeah, are you kidding? AOC? Yeah, I'll explain why.
So break it down, Scott.
Yeah, AOC, man. If you ain't paying attention, women are gonna rule this world. That's clear. If you ain't paying attention, that's happening now, right? I'm not against that. Like AOC, man. Again, I'm so down for Yang. AOC would wreck Yang. We're so lucky she ain't here. Here's why. AOC controls the camera. That's why we're having so many problems with Trump. He dominates the camera. He yanks the media around like a bull with a nose, with a ring in its nose, right? And AOC does the same. Check this out. Here's why AOC matters. I'm a huge rap fan, right? AOC is a politician who's got a flow like Dr. Dre. Boom, boom, boom. She just got this flow, and she goes into it, and she's sincere, and she's passionate, and she is on percussion. That chick is a force of nature, and she will be a true threat in 2024. I'm a huge AOC fan. I don't agree with any of her policies, but I think she's a better rapper than Eminem.
But you also think she would challenge a sitting Democratic president who's running for re-election at that point?
Absolutely. And the reason why is AOC is the future of this country. She truly.
And she's got time. What happened to 2028?
Again, you keep thinking I'm saying what should happen and what's right. I'm saying what will happen, right? Like, you're absolutely right. AOC should step back and do the right thing. But AOC's like, I ain't got time to be waiting. And just like Eminem, she's gonna roll up hard, right? Like AOC does not step back for nobody. You've been watching her? She don't step back for nobody.
All right, well, Scott, we're going to have to go back. Hopefully both our channels will still be around in 2024, and we can go back and see what happens.
Exactly.
All right. Thoughts on New York Times VAT versus wealth tax article. Did you have a chance to read that article, or do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about it, right? This is really strange. So here's the thing. I don't care about VAT. I really don't. All I care about is Yang. So I'm not a huge fan of UBI. I never was, right? But the reality is I had to get sold on UBI. I was like, great, everybody's going to get paid to do nothing? But then I just listened. I just shut my mouth and I listened to a person who's much smarter than me. Andrew Yang is much smarter than me. His rollout of UBI is perfect, right? It is $1,000 a month for every living American, right? And the reality is, that's another thing I really wish he would start talking about. There's going to be two things that happen with that. There's going to be a lot of people who need help who are going to get help. But there's going to be a lot of, like me, here's what my $1,000 a month is going to get spent on. So if I get $1,000 a month, $400 is going to be spent on sneakers, and then another $200 is going to be spent on comic books. And then the other $400, I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to help other people. And I think there's going to be millions of Americans who don't need that money who help other Americans. And I think that's really, really critical, right? So the VAT versus the wealth tax, here's the thing. I do not care about UBI. I do not care about VAT. I care about Yang. I have been following politics since I was a wee little tot, right? And I'm telling you, Yang is special. I have never seen anyone like this dude ever. And that's the issue is I trust Yang. I do not trust UBI. I don't trust VAT. I trust that Yang is a crazy intelligent dude with a huge heart who genuinely loves Americans and really wants this job to make this country better, not to build a dynasty, not to become wealthy, not all the other nonsense that all these candidates are running for. And so that's the issue is like that, and like all the, and I know other people are like, you got to care about the numbers and all this stuff. And I'm like, I trust the dude. And I'll tell you right now, I feel perfectly okay saying that because that's what we need to win most people. Smart people care about numbers. Most people care about people.
Yeah, I think you're right that most people care about people. Yeah. My take is I prefer the VAT over the wealth tax. And for me, the reason is the whole point of the UBI is to basically allow Americans to participate in the pockets of the economy that are experiencing extreme economic growth. And the VAT is the best way to capture and participate in that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And secondly, I don't think Republicans I think they would just go like their head would explode with the notion of a wealth tax. Whereas a VAT, I think, is a little easier to kind of get people behind. But that's
let's talk about. I'll get a little more in the weeds with it, right? So one of the things that I saw this week was actually I read an article that they were citing anonymous sources, and there were a lot of big donors go, you put Warren up, it's done. We ain't giving you no money, right? Mm-hmm. And so and that's because Warren rolled hard on the wealthy, and that's another thing we talked about it earlier, right? Warren didn't pick the right opponent, right? Here's the thing. She thought the wealthy were safe as an opponent, but the problem is wealthy are people, and people know, and poor people know wealthy people. And in America, you cannot roll hard on the wealthy. And the reason why is every American thinks they're going to be wealthy, right? If they're, and the reason, and I mean everybody, even people who have no reason to think they're wealthy, because they can go buy a scratcher, right? Like, and that, and the scratchers now are like $1 billion. Like you can get Powerball for $1 billion. So whenever you say, "Oh, I'm rolling hard on the wealthy," people who are like buying peanut butter to eat for tomorrow are saying, "Hey, I'm going to be wealthy, and then you're going to take all my Powerball money." Like, it's like you can't, and that is the future of politics, is picking the right opponent. And people aren't getting this. You cannot punch down, and you cannot roll on any people. You have to make your opponents systems and things, and that's exactly what Yang saw a year. Like, he saw that when he wrote his book. He's a decade ahead of everybody.
I hear you. I think he's on the right track with the VAT, and I think he's thinking it through. I saw a Yang ad on Snapchat. I think we will see TV ads. Question.
If we get the money. Absolutely. And I think Yang will. I think he's going to go to Hollywood, and I think he's going to go to Silicon Valley. Maybe Whoopi will start introducing him to some real Hollywood celebrities, and he needs some real cash. And I'll tell you right now, every single Democrat needs to abandon Yang first. Abandon this grassroots nonsense. We ain't got time for it. We need like, get them Exxon people in the room and writing checks. We need cash if we're going to win this thing.
Yeah, I think we're going to raise more this quarter than last for sure. And I would expect some of that money to go to TV, because we are doing darn well on Google search and YouTube searches and Twitter. We need to reach the people that don't use those platforms. And TV is a great way to do that. Someone's asking you about your sneakers.
I'm a sneakerhead. I'm a huge sneakerhead. I love sneakers. So right now my main jam is Vans. I got these super dope black Vans with the black stripe, right? I'm really down with Nike SB Dunks. I really like Jordans a lot, but I have a pathetic small, very like same thing, right? Like, I really want a 92 dope Honda CRX, but I own a 2009 Kia Spectra XL. It's the same thing. I own $60 and $80, $100 sneakers, and I have a buddy who owns $1,400 sneakers. But I know what they are when I see them, and I'm like, those are dope kicks, right? So, again, pretty much my life is like loving my wife as best I can and doing as much as I can for my 4 kids, and that makes me way less lame than my interests make me, or makes me more lame than my interests. My interests are a lot more interesting than my actual possessions.
Well, Scott, your interests and your possessions are all super awesome, and there's nothing wrong with that Kia, man. That thing's legit.
It's a great car. I've loved it. It's done extremely well. I got 167,000 miles on it. It's awesome.
It's all about the spoiler, man. It's got the spoiler. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up now. Everybody, please make sure you go YouTube, Scott Garibay. He's on there. Subscribe to him. He's got daily videos about Yang 2020. You're always going to hear a different point of view, and I know that not everybody agrees with everything he says. Me neither, but you'll think a little different, and it sharpens your own positions. And ultimately, that's how we all kind of find our way to try to solve problems together.
Indeed, it's a true honor. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Scott. And nerds, thank you for those of you who've stayed the whole 2 hours. My God, you guys are amazing. And for those of you who are watching this on replay, one thing I should note is, Scott, you mentioned Alyssa.
Yeah, Alyssa Mason.
Yes.
She's fantastic. Go check out her YouTube channel. She's Philly-based. She is truly down for Yang. She's brilliant. And she's really unique. She's one of these people who mixes politics with other cooler things. I'm a huge fan.
And I actually have just been corresponding with her, and we're scheduling to get her some time on Nerds for Yang as well. So I can't wait to learn more about her through this channel.
You're in for a treat. She's really special. Absolutely.
All right, Scott. Well, good night, nerds. We will see you next time. In the meantime, keep it real. And broadcasts. All right, hold on one